Bayonetta 3, the action-packed latest entry in the Bayonetta series on Nintendo Switch, is out, and I have to say they've done a very good job on the game, but we're here today to talk about the voice acting in this game, specifically how Bayonetta sounds now compared with how she sounded in the past.
Yes, does she sound better or worse? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, there was some form of controversy over these voice acting, wasn't there?
That's right, quite a lot of controversy. Now, the previous actor, Hellena Taylor, for the Bayonetta character and indeed the Bayonetta series, didn't voice her in this game. There was quite a high-profile bust-up, if you will, that happened on Twitter between Hellena Taylor and Platinum Games, specifically Mr. Kamiya of Platinum Games. This went on for quite a long time, about 11 months total, until a couple of weeks ago, or thereabouts, Miss Taylor posted a video on Twitter explaining her grievances and why she didn't voice act for Bayonetta this time.
This is an insult.
Instead, Jennifer HALE provided the voice, so we're going to be taking a look and seeing who did a better job.
Yes, basically, as I understand, Hellena Taylor wasn't very pleased with the pay they were offering.
That's right, she was a bit upset, felt they weren't offering too much, so she declined to voice this time. So firstly, let's take a look at a past Bayonetta appearance, where Hellena Taylor voiced her for her appearance in Smash Bros. For Wii U.
If you need to learn how to talk to a lady, ask your mum. Don't tell me you're done already.
So as you can see here, Helena sounding very good as Bayonetta here. She's got that very distinctive British voice, the right tone, really fits the character, I think.
Yes, I like the voice of Hellena Taylor here, and I think it fits the character perfectly. She does sound very good.
Enough talk, goddess. Don't mess with a witch.
And I think the way she draws out the syllables and things like that, how she talks typically English, is very good and matches very, very well. And of course, this is the character that played Bayonetta for the whole series up till now.
The lady that played Bayonetta, indeed, and it has of course become one of Bayonetta's defining features, that particular voice she has, so getting this right in 3 was very, very important, and we're looking here at a new voice actor, which is always a bit of a risk, but fortunately it's not just any voice actress we're talking about here, it's Jennifer HALE.
What you get excited about? The excitement grows.
Who has previously voiced major parts, such as, for example, female Commander Shepard, Samus Aran in the Metroid Prime trilogy, etc. and so forth.
So Jennifer HALE, yes, would be most known to me, of course, for the voice of Samus.
Well, that's right, she didn't actually do too many lines for Samus in the Metroid Prime trilogy, but she certainly was her voice, so that is, of course, something that many people will be familiar with. The question is, how did she handle Bayonetta? Let's have a look.
You have my deepest sympathies. But don't forget, it was you who agreed to do anything I asked in exchange for that job. Just give me my order before I lose my cool.
Honestly, my first impressions of this voice acting effort was that it's very good indeed, Bertie. What do you think?
Well, yes, I mean, I have to say the same. Sounds very good indeed. And she's doing since she's an American voice actress, that's a very good job of switching it over to English, I think.
A very good impression of the British accent. Very good, yes.
Very good. And I think it works, but for me, it doesn't quite have that extra bit of refinement, polish, if you like, that Hellena Taylor has.
That's right, I think I agree there. At face value, it certainly works. It looks and sounds like Bayonetta moving around and talking on the screen. Although if you listen a little bit closer and pay just a little bit more attention, it's not quite as good as Hellena Taylor's effort. There's no doubt about that. Hellena has done a better job in the past. I think it's a shame she couldn't voice for 3 due to this pay dispute. I think it's most unfortunate. It was a big, ugly situation that blew up far greater than it should have done. But I think, given the circumstances that they had to bring in Jennifer HALE on a moment's notice, as it were, I think she's done a very good job and really has salvaged the character in many ways.
Well, yes, I mean, she's done her best, obviously, because she wants to get, I should presume, credit for that game, of course, which will go down in her, basically in her resume, I should imagine,
Well,
certainly, but I think that the actual voicing itself, and I mean, I'm just thinking from this as from the view of a hardcore fan of the Bayonetta series, the voice is going to be a big thing to them.
Of course.
So I wonder how they're going to see this new voice actor and how it comes across to them. Is it going to spoil the game for them? Are they going to be okay with it? I wonder how they'll see it.
Well, I mean, it's a very good question. Certainly, there's another series that recently had a new voice actor after a long time. That is, of course, Mario's appearance in the new Super Mario movie with Chris Pratt instead of Charles Martinet. So I think, if they could turn Mario and take him from, it's me, Mario, into, what is this place? And people are kind of accepting it, then I think this difference here is not so great and people might be happy with it. That's what I think.
Well, yes, but I don't know. We haven't really been able to evaluate the Mario thing yet, I don't think. And the fans haven't been able to do that yet because it hasn't come out yet. So I don't know what sort of reaction there will be. But the one comparison I remember of actors changing, which is a big one, was of course Snake.
Oh yes,
that
of
was
course.
a big one, and of course they changed his voice in Ground Zeroes, did they not?
It went from David Hayter to Sutherland, wasn't it?
It was, and he was good, but for me, having played all of the previous games in depth and knowing them very well, or the Metal Gear games, it didn't quite carry the weight of David Hayter's voice for me because I was just so used to it.
Well, I mean, it's a bit of a shock, isn't it? A bit of a whiplash at first, because you're expecting this character to sound a certain way, and they don't. Now, in my honest opinion, Sutherland's voice was actually pretty good as Snake in Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes. It was quite fitting, and although it wasn't David Hayter, he still did a pretty great job of it. But one character who they ruined in that, in Phantom Pain it was Revolver Ocelot, who had a completely different character as well as voice and personality. So, when it comes to changing voice actors and messing around with how the character sounds, they've got to be so careful. It's a fine balance. You can have a good transition, which I think in the case of Snake, and yes, Bayonetta, she does sound good. That's a good transition. Or you can have a jarring one, like Mario and Revolver Ocelot, not sounding so great. But if I had to rate Bayonetta's new VA, I think she falls into the former category. That is a good transition. This is a good effort. It's not quite Hellena Taylor levels of excellence, but it's still a jolly good effort.
Yes, I agree with that, definitely. And I think only, the feedback from the fans, etc., will tell whether or not this is necessarily such a big deal, this voice acting difference. But I think that it might be for some people.
For some people, it might just be a step too far. They may be clamouring for the return of Hellena Taylor. They may be boycotting the game. I sincerely hope not. I don't think it's right to boycott a game over such an issue. I think certainly Helena's position was very unfortunate. She was offered what she felt was too little pay. That's certainly no trifling matter. Certainly I think it's very important that anyone working in any industry capacity should be properly compensated. But then again, in my opinion, it wasn't necessarily right to be going out calling for absolute violence against the series, boycotting the game, and the whole bit, and I think once the further details did come out and various industry sources were contacted and certain figures were passed around that made it out that perhaps Helena hadn't been entirely correct with her initial figure that she quoted in her video clip on Twitter, I think once that happened, it did begin to backfire a bit, unfortunately, on poor Miss Taylor, which is most unfortunate. I think the whole situation could have and should have been avoided, really. But as it stands, and as things have played out, Bayonetta's voice does still sound pretty good. So that's the bottom line for me, anyway.
Yes, now I wonder, I'm just thinking here, I wonder if he's set the stage now for future Bayonetta games. Will it continue to be Jennifer Hale, or could there be a chance for Hellena Taylor to return?
I mean, I hope so. I wouldn't consider myself to be an avid Bayonetta fan by any means, but certainly from a gamer perspective, I can appreciate the difference here between Taylor's voice and Hale's voice. Hale's done a very, very good job. As I say, very good job, but it's not quite there. I think it's not quite there. So there is a chance that Miss Taylor could be called upon to voice her again. I hope so, for her sake. I hope she doesn't become some sort of outcast from the industry as a result of this incident. That'd be most unfortunate. And perhaps they can work things out between Platinum Games and Taylor. I hope they do.
Yes, well, it'd be nice to have a happy ending, but I suppose, it's getting over the hard feelings, I suppose, isn't it, really? These sort of things.
That's right. They both had their digs at each other. Mr. Camille was very unhappy about it. It all got a bit ugly, but hey, it's water under the bridge now. It's done now. Bayonetta 3's out, so yes, indeed. Let us know what you think in the comments, fellows. This has been GameChap and Bertie discussing Bayonetta's new voice. Thank you kindly for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next exciting outing, I say.
Yes.
Until then!